Members of the County Council, my name is Kubojiri. I am the Police Chief for the Hawaii Police Department. With me I have at the table Deputy Chief Paul Ferreira, and directly behind me is all the people that can answer all the questions that you can say you will have fun with. First, I'd like to start off, we have a short PowerPoint presentation. It's only about a dozen slides. The vast majority is just an overview. As an overview of our island, this just gives the square miles and the population. There's one correction to this. As far as the authorized sworn, thank you for supporting our request for the 10 additional positions we got last year. It was 2 sergeants and 3 officers for the Puna district, as well as 5 patrol officers for the Ka'u district. And those numbers are included in that 448 authorized sworn. The actual number of officers we have, well, it says over here 431. Our actual sworn as of today is 427 for the sworn. The authorized civilian positions is correct. However, the actual civilian positions we have, instead of 135, it's 132. In addition to the what's not counted as part of our 21 vacancies reflected in the difference between our actual and our authorized is we have currently 24 police recruit officers on OJT or on the job training, and they plan to hit the road independently June 16th of this year. So they're in there on the job training currently. This next slide is one that we just updated from last year, and it shows the national average ratio of full-time officers to the population. 1,000 residents is 2.51. And right off the bat, I'd like to say that we are not here asking for any sworn positions, although we are. This slide shows that we are short a little bit, but over the years what has happened is we have increased our sworn staff, our police officers, and it'll be reflected here that substantially. However, our support staff remain constant throughout the years. And what we found is that we've had several support positions that were also unfunded. But the work that all these sworn officers do has to get processed somewhere, and it's our support staff that gets the paperwork out to where it has to be. This slide right here is somewhat compelling, and it's depicted by districts that are calls for service. So you can see the district, your district represented there as far as the calls for service from 2008 to the end of last year. I do have to remind you that our districts in the police department is somewhat a little different boundaries than the council districts there. I think, but overall for the department, this next slide is the most compelling as far as the calls for service. This slide here, oh, it doesn't have that. Oh, you can barely see it. I don't know if you folks can see it on your computer.
Yeah, ours is real good.
Okay, on the screen. But between 2008 and through the end of 2013, there was an increase of 107% calls for service for police officers. Again, like anything else, when you have a population growth, and also in conjunction with the population growth, our investigations have become a little bit more complex. with social media, the electronic digital age. And these investigations take time and money for the forensic analysis of conducting these investigations. But this is just a graph just to give you an idea of what our men and women, or your police officers, are faced with as far as for calls for service. Again, this slide is just a brief description of the responsibility of the criminal investigation section. These are in a nutshell, these are the detectives. Every major case that the patrol officers initiate or come across, the investigation is continued by the criminal investigation section. And this next slide represents the statistics over the last 3 years, and it more particularly, it is heinous as far as the first column there, the murders and attempted murders. Luckily, it's going down. We like to see that at 0. However, we see a large increase again is in the financial crimes, and a lot of this is again with the computers and everything else, and it takes a whole lot of time to get these types of cases investigated so that they can go to be prosecuted. The last column there just shows you what this is, just for the criminal investigation section, what they were tasked to investigate during the last 3 years, and you can see it's steadily increasing over the years. This slide titled Administration is just to give you, the County Council, an idea of what our priorities are this year. And because we have tried to, and we are in the process of shifting and getting our officers the computers, the laptops in the cars. We're trying to get connectivity in all the districts. It's a big problem in some districts that we don't have the connectivity, but yet we want our officers out on the road as opposed to coming back to the station to do a report. It doesn't reflect here on this particular slide, but in the upcoming slide, it'll show you that our IT person, who's on call 24/7, 365, they both have to manage our system. And anything electronic, we all know, if something can happen, it will. And our police officers, they need that tool. It's crucial and critical for them to get their job done. Also, over here, the first slide is we're requesting that we have an upgrade of our position, data processing system analyst, because the responsibility that the individual has done far exceeds what his job description is. They have a tough time doing what they have to do, and in upgrading that position as a support personnel, we'd also like to add a replacement for the current position that he's in now. The third bullet there is to establish a full-time senior police legal advisor. What we found is that over the years, our demand, and thank you to Corporation Counsel, they've assigned an attorney to us to handle our day-to-day issues that come up, providing myself and my staff the legal advice, but the workload has become tremendous. We've asked for a rough conservative figure, although they don't have the attorneys the billable hours. Our attorney that's assigned to our department averages roughly over 100 hours just for our department, and that's not all the stuff that we would want them to do, but we understand that Corporation Counsel, Lashida staff is spread pretty thin as well, and they have multiple assignments for multiple departments. It's reviewing contracts, looking at labor issues, the grievances, providing legal opinions as far as our correspondence that go out, giving us, there's a huge demand for records now and what can and cannot be released. And then there's legal issues. We go through civil suits. So, there's a lot of assistance that we need from an attorney. I will tell you that, and it's not to keep up with the Jones, but Honolulu Police Department has had a legal attorney in-house for years, and Kauai has picked up one because even the County of Kauai has seen a need within the department to have one. The fourth bullet there is, again, to continuous a rigorous personnel training program. Part of that is not only to better our employees, all employees, on a professional level, but it is also that continuing education and training that is required by our accreditation. This last bullet here, these are our priorities, and I don't have to read them for you, but I do know that, as well as you all know, that these are our main priorities for the last several years. So I guess that's enough said, but that's our focus. I alluded to this next slide, which again goes back to our IT person there. And if you can see, the third column, the number of computers we had in 1994, approximately 35, and those were the Wang computers, if anybody can remember that. Now we have 573 computers, and we still have just 2 people handling this, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The number of interfaces quadrupled over this time period, and the number of internal management applications or things particular to our department, our CAD, our RMS, all these computer-based programs that we use on a daily basis. Now we have from 0, we're up to 41. I'm not going to read this next slide. We just went over it. This would be for our senior police legal advisor. This following training slide just depicts the number of training hours, and I know it's politically incorrect to say man training hours, but person hours over the last 3 years. So in summary, this last page, again, we just wanted to bullet our main points here and present to you what we feel is our priorities for this next year, upcoming budget. And I like, on that subject of the upcoming budget, we actually have a decrease of approximately just under 4.5% decrease in our proposed budget for next year as opposed to our current budget. Most of the reduction came out of our operating costs. The largest came out of savings that we had on our fuel. But nonetheless, we're coming in at 4.46% as far as the increase is 4.4% increase. However, that increase, the vast majority of it, we had some savings on the fuel. The vast majority of the increase is our salaries and wages, which we all know was through an arbitrator's decision for the sworn police officers, as well as a negotiated for our other collective bargaining units. And I guess that's it in a nutshell, so I guess the fun can start now.
Thank you. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your presentation. Wow, I'm kind of shocked at the number of calls for service. That's an incredible increase. With those calls for service, does that include when we talk about more of a cyber, internet, fraud, financial, is that still in that call of service?
Yes, that's all calls for service that we receive from the community.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's amazing. You guys are still able to, I don't know, that's just flabbergasting with the amount of staff and personnel that you have and the amount of increase in that. It must be just so challenging to manage.
You know, what we find, and that's a credit directly to, I would say to the management team, most of which are sitting behind me, and then to the workers. They put in a lot of hard work. The IT part to keep up with all of this, we can never keep up right now. We're so far behind the 8 ball, and that it's tough for them. And what is compounding things is we are part of the radio project that is being headed by Chief Oliveira in Civil Defense to get our radios into compliance with the FCC. So all of that is going and our IT people, because again, it's not only push the button and talk. There's that whole digital computer thing in the background that our IT person is working along with the rest of the county to do.
Right. Okay. Well, first off, I just want to say how grateful I am to every man and woman in the police department, whether it be in the field or be in the office. It's huge. Without you guys, it's be a completely different place, and it's critical. And I don't really get a chance to work with police officers in the field very often unless I'm getting like a speeding ticket or something like that. But I will have to say the ones that I have got to, the community policing officers, they're great, and they're such a value to our community. So I just got great folks out there, and we're very grateful in Puna to have the community policing officers that we have as well, and very just responsive and very cool. So within this budget, it's a pretty lengthy budget. The priorities that you guys are asking for, that increases, is that included in here? Is that's you're looking for that on top?
It's in the supplemental budget.
It's supplemental.
Actually, I just wanted to paint the picture for the county council.
You got a number of what that would be?
A dollar figure?
Yeah.
The range for the dollar figure for the analysts I'm sorry, we don't have that exact figure with us.
Look forward to getting that when you do.
Okay.
Curious to see what that is, because obviously that will help. And I just state for the we get complaints from time to time. How come it takes so long to get an officer to respond? I just think for anybody watching this or hearing this, the amount of increase in calls for service is huge, and that just has to be such a challenge to with limited staff, geographically challenged, and to be able to prioritize those calls to be everywhere they possibly need to be. I can only imagine how challenging that is and how overlooked that probably is so often.
Yeah, and thank you for recognizing that. And that a large part of that is a difficult task placed upon our dispatch personnel who sit in a room without windows, and they have, as they're taking these calls, the priorities always shift because, of course, the safety of the community comes first, and if someone's or there's a potential of someone being injured, that'll jump right up to the top of the list. And so someone that calls for, let's say, a barking dog might just get pushed down, and they may have to wait several hours. But if you look at the total picture of the calls for service, it's not like they have very much idle time. They're just running from one call to the next.
Correct, which is all the more reason why we need that the technology for them to have their computer on in their vehicle, not have to go back to do all the reports and whatnot, so they can stay out in the field. So that's how that. Just a curious question. That's how that is prioritized. It's through dispatch. They're getting a call, and it's probably have a priority. Right? Somebody with a gun is higher than like a barking dog. So the officer is basically just getting the information they need from dispatch, saying, "Here's where you're going. Go there now as fast as you can."
That is correct. And oftentimes you will find that the officer gets their assignment coming from dispatch, and then in midstream, it's like, okay, turn around, disregard that call. We're going to reroute you to a call that has a higher priority that just came in. So it's pretty chaotic in dispatch. So, there's a lot of kudos that go out to our personnel receiving these calls.
All right. Well, great. I look forward to getting the supplemental budget numbers, see what we can do. And again, thank you, all of you. So
Several years apart, where very violent criminals were operating in South Kona, and you guys brought up the number of officers and so you could take the contacts, and you cleaned them all, both of them out. And it was a really godsend that you guys did that, because the whole community, it's like you take this collective sigh and people stop loading up weapons in their homes. Everybody gets to calm down, and it's been wonderful to experience that, and it only happened because you took care of the problem for us. So thank you for all the work you do. I want to talk about the fourth bullet, because that's going to be my personal priorities on the administration. The new South Kona station. First of all, I need to give the police department credit. And also former Mayor Harry Kim. We got the land my first term. We did the design the second term. We tried for money, couldn't get it the third term. And there have been changes in the design. I think Marshall and Paul are involved in this. We couldn't get the exhaust for the indoor pistol range to do what it's supposed to do. So, in this term, what's happening is that part of the contract for the Mamalahoa bypass, they're going to hopefully be able to remove the rock and the land, or the soil, off of the new police station site to use it as fill in the bypass. So we will get the grading done with this contract that's coming up. So we're one more step closer to getting it, of course. And I've also asked the state, who knows if we'll get it, I asked them for $7 million to help defray some of the cost of building the station. We don't know yet if we're going to get any of that money, but I did ask for that. The other issue, the substation Ocean View, I just want to let you know what I have been doing, if I haven't talked to you about this. You know where the substation is in the little shopping center? Across the street on Prince Cohio Boulevard is where the mass transit buses come to pick up people. And I'm trying to get that land purchased. I put it in the CIP. And I chose that lot for several reasons. One, it's right on the highway, and mass transit's already leasing it. Secondly, and I was very overt about my ulterior motive. I wanted to get a building over there at some point, even if it's a trailer, to get the substation over there so we don't have to pay the lease money for that. It'll go onto our property. Also, some other trailer partitioned or something so we can have the video conferencing go on. Your substation section, if it's in the same, quote, trailer or anything else, would be separate and reinforced, and, whatever you need. I also went to Civil Defense and asked Daryl if we could please put up 3 flagpoles that are RF permeable, so that we could put cellular and radio, everything that you guys might need in that area. I know it's low because it's right on the highway and not up, but an 80-foot flagpole, 3 of them, might be able to do something to help the dead zones that are down there. So that's what I've been working on. The fourth reason was having that lot right on the highway. The fiber optic cable is in the highway. Now, there's some people in the county talking about moving it back down into a puka behind the shopping center, but you're farther away from the fiber and you're in a hole. And even though we might be able to get more land, I'm a little concerned about that, but ultimately I won't be making that decision. But I did do that so I could get your substation that you're talking about on county land, and eventually we'll be able to build it to your specs. But initially we might be able to just pull in a trailer or something and have it reinforced for you. So again, I'm glad those are still on your priority list. The South Kona Police Station, as you know, has been on the community's priority list for now 11 years. We just haven't got our hands on money that we need. It is approved by the council, and so hopefully if we can get a little help from the state, perhaps the mayor will allot the money and we can start the construction, but we're going to get the lot graded, so we are just one step closer. But thank you again for everything that you do, you and your team does, because we all get to sleep at night instead of sitting at the front door with a rifle in our hands. Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I address a comment that Ms. Ford made?
The rifle in her
The
hand.
rifle in the hands.
No, Susie.
Kind of related
Go
to
ahead.
that.
Go ahead. I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, I want to go back to the incident that you were talking about earlier in South Kona with those individuals.
Yes, what, 11 of them or something?
Yeah. And I appreciate you recognizing the police department, but in reality, the community came forth. And if not for the community, we wouldn't have been so successful and to capture them so quickly. It's amazing. It's
you.
amazing when the community comes together and they work with the police, and you know, the outcome fortunately was great.
It really was for everyone, and Neighborhood Watch in South Kona is really awesome, and boy, I'll tell you, it's all eyes on everything when those things are going down, but we didn't have to go arrest them. And that's where we're so grateful to you, because frankly, I'm a coward. I don't particularly want to be a police officer at all, so thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
let's see if we can get a police station for you, and a substation too.
Thank you. Are you in it? Okay.
Hang on just a second. Chief, thank you for the timeline for the radio purchases. I just want to say that a couple of years ago, I put money in the budget to get radios for all the officers, and it's taken a long time, but there were good reasons for it taking a long time, and all the officers will eventually have a radio on them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Willie?
Good afternoon.
Okay. I wanted to focus on the full-time senior police legal advisor. You know, I'm really into legal advice and how the precautionary principle and having someone right there available to help on issues, I believe, would be a big help. And girls.
She just gave me a bad time about the rifle in your hand.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nancy?
Are you finished using up my time?
Sorry.
Give her more time.
Yeah. And how do you see that, or where would the person be housed, or can you just amplify a couple minutes on that person and position? And I think I can really see this helping, and also helping to relieve some of the officers that you're, short, and taking away, allowing for more of your other officers' field time. And so, could you just expand on that?
As far as
On the need for the senior police legal advisor full time.
my thoughts on that were that I'm not trying to take a position from Corporation Counsel, because they are shorthanded, as I recognize from dealing with them. It would be an in-house attorney. It would be to provide myself or whoever's the chief and the administration, the legal advice. As we all know, that police work by its nature is highly litigious. I mean, I think a lot of the monies that are spent, aside from public works issues, is spent on police litigation in some way, shape, or form. Because let's face it, we, by our profession, have the right to take, I mean, not only we carry guns, but we have the right to arrest and take away someone's civil rights as far as the liberties of free movement there. So it's a constant training that goes on with the laws that are changing. In fact, even we're finding out now, as we sit here, that the state law, California, San Diego, the Ninth Circuit made a decision on concealed carry, that the ripple effect is coming down to us, and we're dealing with that because there's a lot of people that have complained and that I've denied them to carry concealed firearms. But that being said, though, we do rely on the attorney that's assigned to us from Corporation Counsel for a lot of these legal issues. And what my plan is not only on the training aspect and the day-to-day legal expertise that they could provide, but to also train and look at our policies and procedures to prevent litigation or try to mitigate future costs to the county.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. And just, I think of certain incidents or certain cases, and I think if you had somebody right there, maybe that wouldn't have happened, or maybe this could have different options, and just having that other mind to bounce off of, or basically having in-house training. I mean, that's, so I, fully support this and will do what I can, not to minimize anything else, but I just, looking at the cases we have, looking at incidents, and just how can we sort of take overlap, additional training, additional making things more expedient, additional addressing shortages of other staff that take other training. I do want to thank you in terms of the whole community police officer orientation, not just, our community police officers, but my feeling is that really that whole, get people out of the car, mixed with the community, and as you said, gave that example of, and I don't know exactly what happened in Kona, but it was working together, and really that happens when you have relationships that are already existing. You build those relationships in that community, and I really sense it both in Waikoloa. I go to the senior meetings and the community police officers there talking, and then I go to the meetings in North Kohala, and that's going all on, and then attending the Waimea Community Association meeting and being part of that community, not, there's the police and there's the community. And I think one area that I've tried trying to work on is just sort of the neighborhood watch, and also trying to how we can, over time, developing that as a sort of emergency preparedness and relationship to CERT, and sort of tying in that those working units, the dam breaks in Waimea, and which houses are affected, and are you everybody out there knocking on the door, or do you have your network and, the different groups? And so I don't really have any question to ask, but just supporting whatever you do along those lines. And I think the last thing is really in terms of domestic violence. And one of the problems I see, and I haven't done criminal law, but just sort of watching the criminal justice programs here and in other states, and it usually often comes down to there's always going to be one offender and one victim. And before I was a lawyer, I did a lot of counseling and Vermont Department of Corrections, and it was always often a unit, and how does one take it, instead of it being the bad guy and the good guy in a family, how does one break out of that and deal with, okay, you're both going away unless you both get counseling, and sort of dealing with, in emergency preparedness, we're dealing more with how do you keep people in place and in that. And I'm sort of looking in Waimea and the different issues I see, how do we keep these people together and not have to get it to where it's going to Mitch Roth and that, but the whole domestic violence. So, I'm not really expressing a concern, but a question, but that's sort of ideas that you might have in terms of what people can do, whether it's a mentor, how can you get us, the community, more involved and doing things. Okay, you have to report to your neighborhood committee, or you do that, and so it isn't always, okay, here you are, and you either let them go and stay and worry something's going to happen the next week, or send somebody off to jail, or tell the woman she's got to go leave and we've got no safe house in Waimea, or, you're all of those questions that you will have to deal with, at least. So it's a concern, and any ideas you have, I would appreciate talking about them.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, could I
Yes, sure.
just for information, the concerns you're expressing about domestic violence, the State Attorney General, David Louis, he has formed a committee, and we're looking, I sit on that committee. It's just newly, I think we've had maybe just 3 or 4 meetings now. And what we're looking at is training first responders. First responders, not only police officers, but fire personnel, the medics. We're looking at social services to get them help, because it's not only the enforcement aspect. That's the first part to prevent someone from getting hurt. But then we're looking at the follow-up care. And so we have all these different agencies at the table now, and we're trying to come up with a statewide curriculum, if you will, for each department, and how do we handle these domestic violence. And for police, you need to be trained, and let's standardize the training. So we were all 4 police departments, along with many state departments and even the private sector. We're sitting down with the Attorney General, and we're trying to hammer this thing out right now.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Kanuha.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to keep it brief and say mahalo to you and your department for everything that you do in our community. Keeping our community safe is of the utmost importance. So I just wanted to say a big mahalo to you guys. Also, just a small little note. Thank you for being part of our the homeless task force that we organized last year. It was a priority of mine to start it up and urge the mayor to bring the group together, all the service providers, everybody on the table at one, to help these people in need. What can we do to provide those services or whatever it is? But the community policing, being part of that community, especially Kailua Village. I'm not going to mention any other places that you guys also help, but just for myself, Kailua Village, getting out there, being part of all those people's lives, the businesses, just being there in front of all of them really helps. And starting up the bike program helped tremendously as well. So I just want to mention that the amount of work that you guys are putting in, your officers are putting into that particular group task force is a tremendous help. So just wanted to mention that and say thank you for everything else that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford wanted to just say, or Councilmember Elegant. Okay.
Thank you,
See the
Madam
light.
Chair. Chief, how you doing?
So far, is this fun yet? I'm doing great, thank you.
For me, it's a bit hard to look you in the eye because I didn't support your budget last year, and it was for new police officers for Puna. And now I got a chance to work with the community officers that's stationed in Puna. Before there was only one to cover all the area, and I think you had it 600 square miles roughly. And having those 4 community officers helps out a lot. And not only that, just like with the fire department, they have their volunteered force. With civil defense, they have their CERT team. And with the police department, there's the neighborhood watch. Thanks to the community police officers, and of course the active neighborhood watches in Puna, we have got together and started meeting in a monthly basis. And the community officers has been really helpful in making that happen. And on top of that, in the prosecutor side, Glenn comes in. And now, even the Humane Society Star Yamada has been coming in a monthly basis too. One of our biggest complaints that I seem to repeatedly get is not only the speeding, but the barking dogs. And just having them be there to help out, for Star to listen to their concerns and try to make to resolve that issue, it helps a lot. And I'm just gonna throw in a plug. If you're interested, we're having our meeting today at 6. It'd be they would be stoked if you guys came and said hi, and then after that do it. Of course, you have a lot of things you need to do, but I just want to say it's the calls are increasing and the police officers, they're not increasing. But as we stay active on the neighborhood watches, at least they can help out a little bit. They can't do everything. But there is one thing I wanted to ask you, actually just a couple of things. One is if you could explain a little bit about the new main station in the Puna district. What's your thoughts on that as a priority?
We've looked at it, the lease where the current, this is in KL though.
Yes.
The lease, I believe.
So what you guys looked at. There's land that's zoned properly towards the bypass or the gateway center area that's zoned properly, but the infrastructure, as you said, is so great to get through there, it just doesn't make sense. So there's this section in between that's the perfect location for this. It's by the park. Shipman is open to working with us so we can create a civic complex, if you will, so we can house police, fire, maybe like a mass transit hub, which makes it safe, being close to the police station, and expansion of the park, etc. So that's there. It's everyone's open to it. What we need is some land use changes. I actually have a reso that'll be coming up soon to help with a directive, so we can actually have the land usable for that. Ms. Ford might have a question for me there. But that's right at this particular time. That seems like one of the best locations because you do have the signalized intersection. You can go Malco, you can go Mackay. You're right there in the village. It's just one more of those things. So once the land is effectively entitled, if you will, then we can do that. And Shipman is more than willing to do that and find a way to collaborate on infrastructure and get that in. So that's where it's at. It's probably closer than it's been in a long time. Everyone's willing to do it now. It's just a matter of this tedious process of actually getting it done.
Thank you. Did you want to, Madam Chair, may I?
Yeah. You may have already done this, and I just am ignorant of it, but you might want to talk to the planning director because civic buildings are usually excluded, are usually what do they call it? A permitted use in any zone, residential, commercial, industrial, anything. So you might, if you haven't already checked, just check with him.
I've been in conversations with the planning director about this, and it's state state land use ag.
Oh, it's state ag. Okay, thank you.
So it's going to take a little bit of work to get through there, but yeah, thank you, Ms. Ford.
I know it's not in my district, but it's in Puna, and it's something I do support. There is 3 things I wanted to mention that's not one of your priorities, and one of them is a substation at the Pohoa town. It would be located at the Parks and Rec Community Center, and we finally got moved into your old police station, and there's no AC. It's hot, so we need to buy some fans. But I just want to say, now that we're there, we want to really push for that. The other 2 is I've been still trying to work this out regarding the squatters and also the false alarm. And I still don't got it to where I'm at, and when I have some drafts, I will send it to you and go from there. But I just want to let you know that those are my 3 main focus that I'm going to be directly trying to contact you for. Other than that, your police officers have been doing a great and outstanding job, and through your leadership, it's so important for public safety. Without you guys, we really need your help in Puna, and you've been helping out a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thank you for all the service, and especially with the community police officers, because like Councilmember Margaret Willey was saying, they're there at our community meetings. we're so fortunate to have them. I heard from Councilmember Kanua and Ford also, and I mean, all of Pahoa and everybody. We're fortunate. And like in Hamakua, it's a smaller area. I just had one area of concern because it was brought to my attention from the rural South Hilo people that rural South Hilo is sharing a community police officer with part of Hilo. So it's such a large landmass for one community police officer. So I'm asking if you could just look into that and the possibility of giving a little bit more support to the rural South Hilo communities who want to start developing what we have, the community watches that, for crime prevention, and they're wanting to. They just need a little bit more time with the community police officer. So if you could look into that, I would really appreciate it. But thank you for all of your service. And I just got to give a shout out to it's my cousin right there. His grandfather and my grandmother are brother and sister. I just got to say that. So we're very proud of you. Anyway, so.
Can you ask him to just introduce?
Okay, if you want to kind of just. I wonder if we should come to the mic. I don't know if you'll just be able to stand and introduce yourself and tell us what your position in the department is. Yeah.
My name is Ken Kiocho, and I'm a lieutenant with the Administration Division. I'm our accreditation manager.
Major Sam Thomas. I'm with administration. I oversee HR and finance.
Waylon Leopoldino, Human Resources at the department.
Nori Ishii, accountant with finance section.
Marshal Kani Hilo, and I'm the assistant chief with administration.
I think my voice is loud enough. Henry Tavares, Area 1, Operations, which is East Hawaii.
And Paul Kealoha, assistant chief, Area 2 Operations.
And I gotta say, Honoka boy, go Dragons! But thank you so much for coming today, and we're, we saved the best for last, right? So thank you again. The Finance Committee is now in recess till tomorrow morning at 9.
Thank you.